We got Mick in the house, Tom. I don't know if you've ever met Mick before.
I don't know if I have.
One of my authors wrote Burning America, the Doctor of Digital. He's big time. So, Mick, if you got 5 minutes, come on up and chat with us.
Big time, huh?
Yeah, he does a podcast with Katrina, what's it? Krista. She was at Creative Con. But anyway, not the smartest guys in the room. We're talking we are talking AI. Me and Tom are already arguing over it. We're talking CapCut. We're talking repurposing content.
So well, hold on. This is the first time you said CapCut. You didn't say CapCut before.
I didn't say CapCut?
No, you said Canva.
Okay, Canva, CapCut. I consider them all the same. And why? Like, you think one is so much better than the other?
No, they're just different.
Yeah, in
not better, but different. So, like, I'm admittedly, I get a little persnickety about things like that because I come from a world where like language is very, very important. Like where we scrutinize, not just the word, but where in the sentence the word is, the punctuation around the individual word, like when it comes to writing scripts and how we want to emphasize things. And that, to me, like it really gets under my skin when people are imprecise with language. Right.
Okay. That's fair.
But that's a me thing. I'm not saying everybody should be like that because God, that would be annoying. But I think it's important, to try to be precise with language. So like, Canva and CapCut are not necessarily one's better than the other, but they're definitely different things.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on here. So Chris says, I think they call that OCD. I'm looking at the comments. Morning, gents. What's up, Chris? So they do very similar things. I mean,
like they're in like saying, Facebook and LinkedIn are the same thing.
That's true. Okay, that's fair. And
right.
I guess I don't go on.
I was just going to say, they're, do they fall in the same category? Sure. Right. Are they comparable? Yes. But are they the same? No. So again, like I said, I'm overly precise with that kind of stuff because it's kind of my training and the way I've been taught to think over time that I get really particular about, being clear about what I'm talking about or what I'm trying to convey to other people. And so I try to make sure that I don't conflate, things like CapCut and Canva because they're different. They're used for different things. Different people use, like some people who use, a lot of people I would venture to guess that use Canva have never touched CapCut. And probably in vice versa.
Yeah. I think that's fair. So you don't use Canva at all. That's what I'm understanding here.
That is correct.
Okay. So I use CapCut more for short form video where I want to put captions on it. But I don't live by it because I also like to use the in-app captions that, let's say, Instagram. I think Instagram has the best in-app captions. I think I can do more with Instagram's in-app captions than I can with CapCut, unless I'm paying for CapCut, but I really don't want to pay for CapCut. So that's where. So if I'm on Instagram, a lot of times I'll just use the in-app. I got an echo here.
I don't hear
la. Okay, it's interesting. So
if you just make sure you turn your speakers off on your computer, that might be it.
No, okay. No, I think it's coming through. I think it's coming through your mic when I'm talking. What's up, Debbie? Debbie, we got Mick and Debbie in the house. Come on up, Debbie. Hey, Debbie is coming up. Debbie, you hear an echo? Nope, no echo.
No, I'm not hearing anything.
Okay, there we go.
You sound clear to me.
How are you doing today? Do you use CapCut or Canva for anything, Debbie?
I have CapCut. I've used it for a couple things. I'm still trying to navigate how to best use it. And Canva, yes, I've created several posts and stuff from it. So I like the tool.
Okay. I use one thing called Book Brush. It's a different app. It gives me more of what like the books look like. So that's why I use it as a publisher. I can make 50 different angles of a book from above, from this side, from that side, standing. So it's very similar to Canva. I don't always love the spacing on Canva. That was something Tom had expressed. But we were talking about it. We started this conversation about AI, and I was saying that I learned how to batch. I could take 100 quotes and move them over to Canva and put them on the same template over in Canva. And so we were talking about using AI as well. So any AI exploration, Debbie?
I've actually done the very same thing. I figured out how to do it and then upload it into Canva and then Zoom all, whether it's 30 days worth of post or whatever the case may be, it works great. I love it.
Now, Debbie, do you schedule them at that point or you just have them in a database?
I have them in a database. I haven't quite found the right scheduler yet, but I'm just still doodling with a lot of different programs and stuff that I hear from you guys that you dabble with. So it's the world's an empty canvas, right, to create.
Well said. Hey, Tom, do you use a scheduler app?
I don't use a scheduler app. I don't know that it's I don't know. I think I have like maybe it's just me, right? Like maybe I just have like sort of a little block towards it or something, but I have a hard time like sort of relinquishing or giving over 100% of like control of what I'm putting out into the world to like a scheduler, right? So like am I scheduling it at the right time? Am I doing like, so I don't know, like maybe it's just me, maybe I haven't found the right one, maybe I just haven't been introduced to the right one, maybe it's just somebody saying, hey, check this out, right? There may be features that are already built into some of the apps that I already use that I could take advantage of to schedule posts. The only thing that's on a schedule right now is my newsletter that I started on LinkedIn, and that automatically goes out on Wednesdays. So yeah. So that's the only thing I have right now, kind of like on an automated schedule that I'll schedule those posts. But in terms of like, some of the text posts I've been doing for LinkedIn, I'm just kind of like, doing those or posting those like on the days when I have it like kind of laid out or mapped out that I want to post them, but I don't have them like all plugged into a schedule where it's like I did it one day and I just can forget about it for the next 6 months. Because I want to be like, I think a lot of those posts, it's important to me that they're like sort of salient, like in what's going on in the world. And I think if you get too carried away, maybe you could do them a week at a time. But I think some people get carried away and they just put too much stuff on autopilot, and it's just disconnected. It doesn't make sense. It's not like it's not tied into or tapped into at all, like what's going on in the world. And or even in their life or the people or the lives of people around them. And so it feels disjointed. It feels scattershot. It's like to use a phrase, to borrow a phrase from you, it's like throwing mud at the wall, right? Like that's what it kind of feels like, is they're just throwing mud at the wall to see what sticks. And it's sort of rhyme or reasonless. And me, I don't like to do anything, rhyme or reasonless, right? Like everything should have intention behind it. And so whether it's just that particular day or week, like that's a quote that speaks to me and I want to share it, then that's why. But I think a week at a time, maybe 2 weeks at a time, I could see that working. But I think you get too much beyond that, and it kind of loses meaning to some extent. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm there with you. And I think if you're thinking about basic content output, so let's say me, if I might put out 40 pieces of content a day, and like that I'm actually putting out on different platforms. So I might, and I don't even think I might schedule 2 posts a day, like really in my world. And I'm using in-app schedulers. So I'll use LinkedIn's or I'll use Facebook's for those. If I know I have a busy week, I'll schedule in-app for a whole week, like at least one of those posts of the 40 that I'm putting out, So 38 or 20 are still on my own, but I know that I am at least consistent. Like if I'm going to California on a vacation, okay, well, I will schedule 2 a day on Facebook and LinkedIn, and maybe 1 over here. But then if I can do any extra, then I'll do that. 40. What's Chris saying? 40, man. What's his problem? Okay. I'm reading comments. 40. Hey, anybody, by the way, Tom, I tried to share this room and it said closed room. I wonder if something is it a closed room? Debbie, Mick, can you guys see that anyway? What the hell's closed room, man?
I have no idea, man. I mean, I'm on Club Deck, so I don't even use the app. I don't think the app is updated or current on my phone even. I literally haven't opened it on my phone in months. So I have no idea what that means. I don't know if that's something like, they changed when you set the room up or something. You have to now tick a box to make it a public room or something like that. Who knows?
All right. You talk to Debbie. Debbie, look, you talk to Debbie. I'm going to look and see if it is closed somehow. Hold on.
All right. I'll talk to Debbie. So Debbie, talk to me about, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your use of AI, or how you started playing around with AI. Because I've been using it too, and I think I actually am warming up to it and thinking it's an incredibly powerful tool, and it's actually pretty easy to use once you sort of start to get the hang of it and break some old kind of preconceptions about how some past experience. So I'm curious to hear what your experiences are and how you've been using AI.
I feel like I'm still learning that whole thing as well. But I started doing playing around with it to search out keywords for post, actually content for post, especially in terms of what I am working on, which is raising awareness on domestic abuse. So trying to and I have to be careful because a lot of times it comes back with, because of the dark nature of the topic, it comes back with not wanting to produce any content. So I have to play with how I input to get the output. But I use it for post. I use it for SEO engagement, or to maximize that, and then and for keywords, that might attract more followers. So that's what I've been playing with.
Gotcha. Interesting. Yeah, I heard. I listened to a podcast yesterday with, and I'm going to pull it up real quick because I want to make sure I get his name right and his title right. But I listened to a podcast yesterday about AI. Podcast is called the Brand Story Podcast. It's hosted by a guy named Steve Gilman, who owns a branding agency. And he had, his guest was Connor Grennan, who's the dean of students at the NYU Stern School of Business. And he talks a lot about AI. And one of the things he talked about I thought was really interesting was kind of getting people to break old habits when they interact with and they use AI. And he said one of the things he comes across often, because he does a lot of training at the C-suite and executive level for companies and corporations on AI. And one of the things he comes across is that people treat it like Google, right? And it's not Google, and you have to stop treating it like Google, right? So the sort of the parameters of how you use AI, how you phrase queries are important. I've started using a model that I found online that I told Dom about, called, it's actually a framework that's called Risen, and it's an acronym. And so when you create a prompt for, say, Chat GPT, following this Risen framework, the Risen stands for role, instructions, steps, end goal, and narrowing, right? So the idea is you give the AI all of these sort of detailed instructions. And the way Connor talked about it with Steve was to say, talk to it like you're explaining to a new hire or an intern how you would like them to do something, right? So somebody with very little experience, talk to them the same way you would talk to AI, the same way you would talk to somebody with very little experience who you're giving instructions to complete a task, right? So think of it as a task, not a search, right? And that's one of the things that that really kind of resonated with me. And one of the things that this Risen framework does is it helps you take that idea of giving instructions to complete a task to AI, rather than, or to the AI that you're using, the GPT that you're using, whether it's Chat GPT or some of the others. It gives really clear, thorough instruction to the software so that it can actually execute on those instructions, right? So again, you tell it what you want it to be. So act as a copywriter, act as an SEO optimizer, right? Like, tell it what you want it to be. Act as a marketing expert, or act as a keyword expert. Act as something like that, right? And then you give it instructions like exactly what you want it to do. So write a blog article, or deliver, the 10 best keywords for this industry, or whatever it is. Then you give it the steps you want it to follow, right? So start with this, then do this, end with this, right? If you're asking it to write something for you. The end goal, you tell it what you want to accomplish. And then the narrowing is give it constraints, right? Like, how long do you want it to be? How many keywords do you want it to deliver for you, right? What are the parameters within which you want it to operate? And it works fantastically well. So I would encourage anybody, just Google the Risen framework, and try to put it to work using ChatGPT or some of the other AI platforms. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised with what it turns out. It gives you a really good sort of basis for creating content. So whether it's a blog or posts or whatever, it gives you a starting point where all you have to do then is go through and edit, rather than starting from scratch and agonizing over how to write something. It gives you something that you can edit much more quickly than you could write it from scratch. And that's where I see it as a sort of an optimizing tool, and a tool that's worth using. Right. So I hope that makes sense.
No, it does. And thanks for that acronym. That actually does make a lot of sense in terms of what to input into ChatGPT. I have also used it on occasion to kind of maybe reword, or something that I've written, to see if I can get it to sound better, or to condense it, whatever that case. In other words, editing, some type of editing to make something better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing that people don't often do, and I heard Connor talk about this yesterday, and it's something I've done in my interactions with, in my use of AI as a tool, Something that people don't ask it to do very often is to refine what it turned out the first time, right? So I had an example where I asked it to help me draft a piece of content, one of the editions of the newsletter that I started, and it gave me this example that just used an example in the middle of the draft that just didn't kind of make sense or feel right to me. And so I asked it where that came from back, and I made it up. And I said, oh, that's why it didn't feel right or real to me. So then I said, okay, replace it with a real world example that accomplishes the same goal. And guess what? It found one, right? And then I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I said, give me 5 more real world examples of this kind of thing, right? So then it churned out 5 more. And then I said, great, give me 5 new ones like that are different than these 5. And then I pasted in the 5 it had just given me, and it gave me 5 more. Right. And I was like, oh, okay. So like I think that's the thing, is people often think it's like a one and done, right? Again, sort of like a Google search, right? Where people don't often go back and refine their original search if they don't find what they want. They just kind of go, oh, well, Google didn't give me what I want, and they move on, right? Or they just search for something else. But the answer is not to just move on or search for something else. The answer is to refine your search, or refine and ChatGPT for you. If you give it instructions on how you want it to refine something, it will then take something it's already generated and refine it further for you. Replace examples, give different examples, find more examples, like all of those kinds of things. Like it can do if you just ask it. But that's the thing, is you have to ask it to do it. It's only going to do what you ask it to do. And that's, I think, where a lot of people, sort of miss the boat with, using these kinds of tools, is it's only going to do what you ask it to do. And yeah, so you have to ask, right? It's like an intern or somebody who's brand new, an entry-level person who's just starting in your field, right? You have to be really specific and clear about what you're asking of them. And then they'll do it.
No, I would agree. You have to ask, and you have to know how to ask. And I found a couple times when asking, it'll spit out some content, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, I never thought about that. And then that leads me to another search and to another search. And so it's been an interesting tool, to say the least.
I'm there with you guys both, that the more I ask it, I just keep drilling down. No, make it 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, take out this, make it third person, make it first person, give me more examples, less examples, quick, such big words. I tell enough with the giant words, take it down a notch, and it just keep on refining. So Tom, you look like you want to say something.
I was going to say 2 phrases that I like to use around that is, do not use flowery language, right? And use a conversational tone, right? Are 2 phrases that I use often in prompts that'll help keep it from using phrasing that, we wouldn't ever use, right? That I would never use. I've created my own GPT because I decided to go ahead and purchase access to ChatGPT 4. And within that sort of paid for account, I can create my own private GPT that's only accessible to me, right? And I fed it my book. So I've put my book into it, and so I can say things like, write this in the style of my book Legendeering, right? Or in the voice of Tom Langan as seen in his book Legendeering, and it will churn out things that are very similar in writing style to my book, and which I can then go through and again quickly edit, right? To hone in, or to finalize. I can quickly edit something into a piece that really reads like my voice and sounds like something I would say. And yeah, it works incredibly well. But again, not everything needs refinement, right? Nothing is perfect out of the box. And I think that's the other place where people go wrong, is either they don't try hard enough, and or they don't do any post editing, right? And it's the same thing again, going back to that idea of it's an intern or somebody who's, brand new, first day on the job, right? In this career path, like, you have to check the work, right? Like, you cannot trust that they know everything, that they're going to turn out something perfect, because they're an intern or they're brand new, right? That's what you're dealing with. So check the work, right? Edit it. Make sure it's clear. Make sure it's in your voice. Make sure there isn't weird, punctuation that doesn't make any sense, right? I see things like that where there's punctuation in the middle of a post, a text post, that makes no sense. And I'm like, well, this clearly they didn't read this, right? And I'll share my favorite trick for how to edit something to make sure that it makes sense. Read it out loud. Read it out loud. And if it doesn't make sense when you read it out loud, then you need to fix it. So I don't know. I hope that helps. What did you find, Dom? Are we
I don't know. We're gonna ask.
Are we being shadow banned for those?
I don't know, because
I'm doing air quotes around that.
When I tried to share it to Threads, it said this is a closed room, and that's the only thing that gave me something that maybe this is a closed room. But I don't know. We'll ask Jimmy what he found. But hey, I want to say, Mick and Debbie, I see authors that I work with that I know are using ChatGPT for a post and not even looking at it. And it's like, in the middle of it, there's a quote that doesn't fit in. And if, like Tom said, if you just read it, you would know, like, what the hell is this? It's like somebody must say, just give me a social media post with a quote, and it makes no sense. And I'm like, and I see it, periods in the wrong places, hashtags in the wrong places, and it's very odd. So, hey, Jimmy, were you able to find the room? Tell us about it. And are you using ChatGPT at all? And where the hell you been? Jimmy's my dear friend.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him lately. Go on.
What's up, guys? Hey, Tom, great stuff, because we do use ChatGPT at my work, mainly for content, for making LinkedIn posts and that sort of thing. And what we found was that it would churn out anything you want, obviously, but it doesn't sound like you or sound like your voice, and it's too wordy. And what ended up happening a few times is whenever we went through and proofread and everything, we had to basically rewrite it. And then the last couple of times, my boss just asked me to write something versus using ChatGPT. So paring down and asking, telling it to do different things, to add certain words, to do things, is pretty important, because the guy who's running it for us, I don't really think he does that. So I'll definitely take some of what you said and take it back to him and give him some ideas, and it might help us and create better content. So that's good. And as far as the room being public or not, I just saw that you were on. I popped in and came on. So I don't know if it's private or what.
All right, Jimmy, we accept that. Jimmy Ajay is the best. Tom, when you came to Pittsburgh, I was going to have you meet Jimmy, but you were only in a day, so you didn't get to meet Jimmy.
Well, I mean, if you had said that, we could have figured it out. I could have maybe stayed a little bit longer if it meant I was going to meet Jimmy. I would have stuck around for that.
Could have went to Jimmy's cabin. I mean, he's a baller.
Dom, see, it's always Dom's fault. Tom, you're starting to learn that. I like it.
I heard some, Dom and I spent 16 hours in a car together, going back and forth to Chicago, and somewhere around there, probably a little bit long with fried chicken stops. Yeah, we spent a bunch of time together going back and forth between Pittsburgh and Chicago, and so I heard some stories about your cabin, and I would enjoy going up there, I'm sure.
Well, next time, add an extra day, or just come out for a weekend and hang out. Either way.
There you go. There, Jimmy says, "Come. Anybody's welcome to Pittsburgh. We can go to Jimmy's cabin. Dragon, Julie, Beth, Debbie, you can come. Mix down there. All right, not the smartest guys in the room. Best coming to Jimmy's cabin. All right, there you go. There's a lake. There's a big national park with waterfalls not far from there. So we're talking AI today. We're talking AI. We're talking repurposing. So we were really digging into how to prompt AI. How are you using it? Do you use it? The people that are obviously using it and don't know, didn't read what they and if I see delve one more time in a post, there's certain words that Chat GPT uses like crazy, and delve is one of them. And because I've been religiously reading books for the last 20 years, and I have not seen delve so much until Chat GPT came out, and I wonder, and it seems like overusage when I see. I think there's other words. I'm gonna look for common Chat GPT. I'm gonna Google while we're talking here most words that show up most in Chat GPT post, in AI post, and I bet I get a top 10 list. Okay, Beth, you use it. Go on, Tom.
I was just going to say, I kind of found that funny because delve is definitely a word that I would use, right, in writing. Like I would 100% use that word. But yeah, keep an eye out for I guess words like that. Maybe if you start seeing practicable pop up in people's posts, you're going to know that. And if I'm not tagged, if it's somebody we know, then you're going to know that they're using AI or a large language model to generate their content, because that's a word you don't hear super often. In fact, the first couple of times I used it, I remember I know Julie looked it up to see if it was really a word. But yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was funny. I was just kind of over here chuckling to myself and wanted to share my amusement with everyone. Sorry, go on to Beth.
Hey, can I add something real quick?
You were checking to see if I was paying attention, Tom. Practicable.
There you go. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to just relay this advertisement that I saw yesterday. I'm not even sure where. I think it might have been LinkedIn. And Dom, you'll appreciate this being in sales. They advertised where you could be a lazy salesman and let ChatGPT enter your CRM results for you, so that you can do whatever you'd like. And so ChatGPT and AI are helping the lazy salesman. How about that one?
Love it. Oh, that figures. Okay, here, I got you your answer. Wait till you hear this. Here are the list of the top 10 words that seem to pop up most often in others' AI generated content. Number 1, delve. Okay. Number 2, dive. Number 3, explore. Number 4, aesthetic. Number 5, seamlessly. Number 6, realm. Number 7, world. Number 8, illustrious. So these are the words that pop up most. Okay. Oh, now I got
Captivating too, right?
Captivating. There you go. John Jay, we're talking words that we're talking Chat GPT, words that pop up the most, how we use it, how to use it right. Beth, how are you using it? Do you use it? Do you stay away? What are you doing? Just AI in general. So we were talking about repurposing content. We were saying that AI is a good way to repurpose content, but go on, Beth.
Yeah, well, good morning, first of all, to everybody. And Jimmy, yeah, I will come to the cabin, by the way, because I am flying back up that direction. So if I'm just like sleeping at the cabin, don't worry about me. I'm safe. I'm not, I won't harm anything. But we tried to use it, Dom, in our industry of doing narratives, of properties. And I don't know if anybody else has been able to figure it out well enough to use it where it doesn't throw in keywords that actually we could get fined for, that are steering clients, because that's what it was doing for me. So I'm not using it right now. I use it for other stuff, just simple stuff, but not in my line of work. not for now until it gets a little bit better.
Interesting. So what have you been using it, like how have you been using it then? Like, given that there's some issues going on in your industry, Beth, how have you been using it? What have you found success with?
I actually more of like using it to help me change up voicemails, voice messages that I would leave or text messages. Like that's what I've been using it mostly for. But I haven't played with it enough recently because it had me so scared that I was going to get thrown out of my board. Because I watched some other people use it for their narratives and it didn't help.
So Beth, sometimes I will take narratives that I already wrote and let's say bios. I have 100 different bios that I've already wrote. I have authors' bios that I've already, and then I'll take the narrative that's already there and have Chat GPT, or I use Chat GPT, so other people could be using different AIs. So I don't want to so I'll use AI from that point and get new ideas and things like that. Is that something you could consider?
Yeah, Dom, to be honest, I need to get back in and start playing with it more. Yeah.
I think that's what like Tom came in here today saying, like he had used it, but then went away from it and then is using it now, controlling it, using prompts, and starting to see that it could be a good tool for him, a resource. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's like any other tool, right? It's how you use it that really matters. At the end of the day, a hammer is designed to pound, nails into wood, right? Like a carpentry hammer. I mean, there's all kinds of different hammers, but like, a standard hammer, the ones that most of us have, most of us who aren't carpenters or woodworkers have in our kind of toolbox, right? The hammer we have is designed to bang a nail into a piece of wood, right? But how you use the hammer makes a big difference, right? If you grip the hammer all the way up by the head, right, and at the top of the handle and try to put that nail into the piece of wood, it's going to take you a year of your life to put a nail into a piece of wood using a hammer like that, because it's not an efficient way or an effective way to use it, right? But if you grasp the hammer correctly, if you learn how to swing it properly, if you practice to develop the coordination you need, if you develop that muscle memory you need to use it effectively, then over time it becomes an incredibly robust tool where you can pull it out and put all kinds of nails into all kinds of pieces of wood and get things to stick together and build something, right? All because you put in the time and the practice and the effort to learn how to use the tool correctly, right? And that's how I think of Chat GPT or AI more broadly, the generative AI models that we're talking about here today. They're tools, right? So like, learn how to use them. Don't go into them with preconceived notions. Don't treat them like Google. Learn how to use them. Learn how to generate prompts that elicit the kinds of responses that you want, and then refine and iterate, and just over and over and over again, just iterate, and it'll get better. You'll get better at it. You'll get better results with it, right? Just the same way you will as the more time you spend swinging a hammer, the better you get at putting nails into boards, right? It's really that straightforward, I think.
It's good stuff. All right, let's continue down this path. Not the smartest guys in the room. We got the Dragon, JC. Hey, Jolie, John, Carrie, Kevin, what's up? Dragon, what's up? You in Mexico? Where you at these days? I was going to call you the other day, but I didn't want to bug you.
No. I'm not going to Mexico till May. No, I'm home. Remember, I'm 52 and we just adopted a little girl, so I'm going through that again. So I stopped traveling so much. Yeah, I'm home, so you can call me anytime.
Okay, so hey, dig in here. So we're talking repurposing content. One, do you do it, JC? Do you ever Because do you ever take a piece, a post from a year ago, 2 years ago, a video you made, and use it again in a different way?
Oh, yes, of course. I mean, if it's relevant, I mean, I don't just blindly do that without thinking it through. I usually like to put stuff up that's also time sensitive. So what's cool about social media is, like, I'll give you an example. Like, if you on Facebook, they give you those memories, like, of something you posted this time of the year 2 years ago. Those are cool because they're time sensitive. But I like new and fresh stuff. I think one of the best things you can do with your content is have people not only like it.
Apologies, everybody watching the live stream. We're just having a little technical difficulty, so I just had to jump out of the clubhouse room, and I'm going to go right back in a second. So just give me 1 second. Here we go.
So if you understand where AI is going, you could either be worried about it or poo-poo it, or you could be excited about it. So I just decided to be excited about it. I don't use Google too much anymore, as like I used to. So I like to, rather than just get a fact, I like to get a little bit more. So I like that. Not that I'm going to copy and paste it, just for my own knowledge. When I'm writing, sometimes I'll use ChatGPT for some ideas of some keywords that I could use, or some action steps, or I might ask ChatGPT to make a reference of some research that backs up what I'm writing about. So I love it. I think it's super cool. But I think what I'm most excited about in the realm of AI is the fact that whether we like it or not, it's going to be massively relevant in the lives of our children and their children. So I'm more interested in the idea of learning how to interface with it. I don't really get caught up in the whole, and I use the word delve all the time. So you just know that ahead of time, guys. So that's actually me saying delve. And I also like the word realm.
Okay, you and Tom are making me mad.
Yeah.
I will.
Well, that's
now I
because
need to
we're
figure out that.
intellectuals, man. We're smart.
Okay, so I didn't know that I was hanging out with such
But
intellectuals.
What's interesting about ChatGPT, and you won't know this unless I've interviewed a couple of people from my show on on AI in general, and the cutting edge of AI is not what most people are using it for. Most people are using it to accommodate their laziness. But what's cutting edge about AI is that it's evolving. And if you know how to talk to AI as if it was an employee, and you took the extra steps, which is from your creativity, to explain not only what you want, but how you want it, and what you're going to do with it, and how you want it to be organized, it's quite amazing. It's not taking the place of the human brain. That's the ultimate supercomputer. But if you learn how to interface with it, it's fascinating. And as a publisher, it's pretty cool. I'm sure you can see when writers get writer's block as a way of just kind of kicking them back into the playing field. So I'm a big fan, but I'm never copying and pasting and trusting something in there. I'll give you an example. I thought it would be fun. I'm going to give you guys the answer to this question by myself, and then I'll tell you what ChatGPT would say with this question. So the question is, if someone asks me what I think of ChatGPT, how can I answer them in short form? So you tell me which one ChatGPT said and which one is mine. So the first answer I'll give you is yeah, I really like ChatGPT. I think that it's something relevant, and I think we got to move with the times. And I like it. I like the idea of learning how to interface with it. And then here's the other answer. ChatGPT is an AI language model that helps me generate content and the ideas for my social media posts. It's a useful tool for brainstorming and getting inspiration. Right? So it's pretty fucking obvious, excuse my language, but I think that it's a great partner in coming up with your creative ideas.
Good stuff, JC. And I want to thank JC just a minute. He sent me a note the other day, and it was just like, I think it was where you were like, hey, cool post about your daughter. I don't know if it was here or somewhere, but it really meant a lot. And now I understand, JC, like you said, hey, you're going through some stuff right now, or adopting and stuff like that. So to your point, it makes it more relevant. But I also appreciate it as you recognizing, hey, this is like, it's some content that I reshare, I'm repurposing because I value those times with my daughter. My belief is to share inspiration, positivity, and smiles 24/7, however I can. So if I can share a picture of me, a video of me and my daughter doing something goofy and it makes JC smile or somebody else, well, that's right on mission, and that's why I share it again. So,
well, I'll say
on.
something just quick about that, and I think a lot of people forget about it because it's okay to want to grow your business and your following and all that stuff, but people, I think, miss what's most attractive about people, which you can, show through your posts, just like you're talking about, is what makes them people, right? And the relevant things that all humanity share. So I think a lot of times, whether it's repurposed or not, when a post evokes an emotion, even if it's a personal growth post, that's an interactive post, because it serves what social media really is for, which people don't really remember all the time, is to be social. It's not to be cool. It's not to be popular. It's to be social. And from a business standpoint, there's nothing more valuable than content that starts conversations, right? So I think that we're probably, I mean, maybe not this room because we got some older dogs in this room, but if you observe our younger generations right now, they don't even know what they're doing on social media. I mean, they're using it so that they don't have to pay attention to what's going on in the real world. So what's dangerous about that, and then throw in AI, is the fact that our kids, if they're not watched and we don't step in and not tell them what to do, but just like have conversations with them, our kids are their brains are being hardwired. Hebb's theory says, neurons that fire together wire together. Kids are turning into AI right now, and I'm not. I mean, we have to let our kids go with the punches and prepare themselves for this crazy world that's ahead of them. But what scares me about that is that kids are not aware of the things that we're aware of, meaning how their brains are being rewired to act a certain way, to jump, a certain way, to, I mean, that's scary. That's a scary part of it. So how do we fix that in the Dragon household? We just take time to sit with our kids and ask them what they think and point things out and things like that. But yeah, I think we're in big trouble in the sense that we have just billions of people that are just unconsciously sleepwalking through life.
Go on, Tom.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's a couple of things there that I wanted to unpack a little bit. Part of it is that, I think the thing to bear in mind, right, is that this is what's happening now with the world, the online world, influencing the development of people, right? Which is kind of what Dragon was talking about. That's not a new thing, right? The only difference, the only thing that's new is that it's this online world, right? The thing that's not new at all is the fact that our environment has always shaped our development as human beings, right? My generation, our generation was shaped by the environment in which we grew up. The generation before that was shaped by the environment in which they grew up. The generation before that was shaped by the environment in which they grew up ad nauseum, right? I mean, for as long as human beings have been around, we've been shaped by the environment in which we've grown up. So, and I think similarly, as long as human beings have been around, it has older generations have been critical of how younger generations interpret the world or interact with the world, because it's different inherently from the way that they do. Because, as I just said, we're all shaped by the world that we develop in, right? So I think that's something to bear in mind, right? To sort of help give a little bit of broader context to what Dragon's talking about. I don't disagree that I think it's important to make sure that kids, as they grow, are involved in more than just a narrow focus, and also a world that that exists outside of their devices, right? What some people will call the real world, but I think the argument there is that, well, what's happening on their devices is real too. I mean, what do you mean by real? Do you mean physical, right? Like, kind of, you have to define what you mean by real, like, in order for that argument to kind of hold any water, I think. But at the end of the day, I think it is important to make sure that you give people and kids as broad an opportunity as possible to experience as many different things as possible, so they don't sort of narrow and limit their potential later in life because they're only exposed to a narrow set of circumstances or a narrow set of experiences. I think that's kind of always been true, and I think that's true now. I think the big difference is that the ease of access that kids have to these sort of these activities, right, or this online world that really stimulates the pleasure centers of the brain and delivers dopamine in a way that, or on a scale that we haven't necessarily seen before, or with a rapidity that we haven't really seen before. So it's different, but every generation's experience is different than the generation before, right? So I think it's important to keep that in mind, and at the same time, look towards how we can help educate them and give them context and perspective with which to understand the world that they're interacting with, rather than just to say this is right or wrong, or you should or you shouldn't do that. I don't know. My thoughts. What do you think, Dom?
I think you're rolling. I think you're going to be a good father. I think JC's doing a good job. So my job as a parent, I always figure, is to get my kids to 18 first, 18 safe, healthy, happy, and to be productive members of society, to care about other people, and that they could survive on their own and be good people. And so I do really challenge myself. I hope, like when we talked about letting my daughter smoke a cigar before my son, or my young daughter, while she's been in spelling bees, she also goes to independent wrestling matches with me under bridges in Pittsburgh. I hope I have given her this well-rounded, like Tom is saying, that if you can let them think about multiple things, let them see and speak to the people that are sleeping in tents on the side of the trail or on the bench, and know that they are good people too, and that they're not that different than us. There's different opportunities. So I hear you guys both. So let's move on. Love it. Not the smartest guys in the room. We got Julie Loken, always smart. Julie, we're talking about repurposing content. You got any strategy for repurposing, easy ways? We started off with Canva and CapCut, a little bit of AI. Is there an easy way to repurpose? Julie has 100 episodes of her podcast. Julie has books. Julie has posts that she's put out. What can we do?
Hey guys, thank you so much. And I love this conversation. I love thinking about the future generation and like how we're also navigating that with them, because it's a lot. And for those who are expecting babies, it's going to change by the time your baby is 12, 14, 16 years old. It's going to be a totally different conversation, because I never even imagined all of this stuff, 10 years ago. And generative AI, it's amazing for me right now, at least at this very basic moment, because it does repeat algorithms. It repeats those words, as you were saying. So people who actually can write, that is a special skill a lot of people don't have, and it helps out a lot with algorithms on Google. I actually wrote an article on why generative AI will fail in 2024. And it's because it can never look through the lens of the human experience. And only we can do that, at least at this point. I'm scared to think about what's going to happen in the next couple decades about how it can tap into our brains, because I think that's where it's moving. So back to repurposing content. I mean, if you have a book, you can repurpose a chapter and make it into a blog. You can put your blog onto Newsbreak. You can put your blog onto medium.com. You can use all these different platforms to share your message. You can switch off titles to get more visibility. You can use it in a newsletter on LinkedIn. You can do a post on Facebook. There are so many ways that aren't going to overtax you. So just think about the different ways that you guys can use photos, videos, pictures, blogs, books, podcasts to perform on different platforms throughout the internet, because you have that ability to create a digital presence on so many different platforms. And John Wiley is so good at researching different platforms in which you can repurpose different content. But start thinking basic and start doing it, because you have that power to take a half hour every day and to think about how you can repurpose things on YouTube, blah, 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 and just do it. So thanks, guys. Great topic.
Julie, is there a way, and anybody, if you know this answer, is there a way to take every photo that I have in my phone and just easily save it? And if there is, and I should already know this or something, is there a way to easily save it to a drive, like my computer drive?
You can just, your camera roll, you can attach to your computer. If you plug your iPhone into your computer, everything will upload to your iCloud.
Okay, see, I didn't even know this. So then can I save my iCloud somewhere else then?
What do you mean?
I don't know. So that if let's say I'm afraid of having everything on the iCloud, can I put it somewhere else too? Those same pictures?
I think you can download it to your computer as well. So It's on your computer under your files.
Okay, this is what I'm doing. This is part of my repurposing. This is what I'm doing today. I have to get.
I mean, think about all the photos you have on your phone that you haven't used.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do amazing things with them.
Yeah, that's what I was getting to with the group here. I number one, like me and somebody the other day, have you shared every picture in black and white, or 90% of them in black and white? Okay, you shared them this way. Have you shared them in black and white? Have you shared them with a different piece of, I'm looking at Tom with his hat here, and I wonder if I took a picture of Tom with his hat, has he said, this is Talex Media, the reason why I wear this hat is this? Has he done that in a text post? Has he done it in a video post? Has he done it in a TikTok? Has he done it in a LinkedIn? Has he done it in black and white? Has he done it with music behind him? Has he done it? So just with every piece of content that we have. Go on, Julie.
Oh, no, I was going to say the great thing about Tom is he's so consistent with his look. I mean, I know he changes his clothes. I know he changes his shirts, that sort of thing, but he always looks the same. So you won't know if his video was from 2 years ago or today or a week ago. That's the beauty of his consistency. And look, now for a female, that might be hard, but I mean, like, he's a good example of just like, he's creating evergreen content that can be repurposed all the time because he always looks exactly the same.
Dominic, I just wanted to answer a question about where else you can put your photos. You can put them on Google Drive, like on Google.
Okay, I'm gonna make sure.
There are other places where you can store your photos besides Google, and you can put them on a hard drive. So you just have them saved there as well.
Yeah, I believe, because sometimes when I'm missing photos, I'll look and I guess I get to this cloud and I see pictures there, but I want them more easily accessible so I can label everyone. That's what I'm getting to. So like we were talking about batch posting earlier to Canva or something like I will take the quotes that from books of mine, send them over to Canva, batch upload them, and make templated post pictures. I would like to
Also make albums in your, I assume you have, it's on your iPhone or whatever. You can just make albums too and just put them into albums. But honestly, I hate Apple's photo stuff because it's in the album and it's still in your camera roll. Like I want it out of there. So that's why Google and some other ones are better.
Okay, how many pictures you guys got in your camera roll right now? Let's just can I ask that question? And we're coming to you, John. What top camera roll? What's the average people have? John, what do you have? Julie?
15,045.
Way too many.
Okay, so after a while, do they like? I'm going down to a couple years ago, and now I'm seeing clouds when I scroll through, and the picture's not popping up as quick. That's annoying to me. Is that how?
Gigabytes or terabytes or whatever is your phone? Like
I don't know that. I just okay. I'll look into that. Okay, thank you, Gigi. All right, John, we're coming to you next, Gigi. John, AI. How are you repurposing? Give us some ways that we can use it today, if you don't mind.
Yeah, here's the way I just got done writing, and Julie will appreciate this. I just got done writing 2 articles for Newsbreak and Medium to support my latest episode of my podcast. I use ChatGPT. First, I type out the show notes of what I think is important, what's in it for the consumer they're going to get. Then I go to social media. I get links about my guests, whoever it might be, information. I get some news article posts that they have, and then I paste all that into a text pad. Then I take that and I'll say, rewrite this in ChatGPT. And usually I'll say, rewrite this with these keywords. And I'll put about 20 keywords in there. And then pretty much from that is I copy and paste that into my show notes. Then from that, I'll take the show notes and then I'll say, ChatGPT, rewrite this as a news article. And usually it spits it out. I usually do that twice. And sometimes I'll say, change certain words, change the word. I know it's been brought up, delve to this, explore, whatever it might be. And that it does it automatically. And it often creates word for word what I need, including the title. Then from that, I go ahead and I post it in the short version. I post it in Newsbreak. I put in attributions to the websites that I use, and then Medium as well. So that's how I use it. And as far as repurposing content, look, the main thing I do is I do old episodes of the show every day. And I just copy and paste what I used before. The same headline, the same URL, everything else, sometimes reverse the order. But the main thing is when it comes to static images, engagement pieces, I looked at what's worked before in the past. And I try to use it no more than once every 3 months, a different time frame, different day. But I don't put a lot of thought into it. I don't overthink it. For me, speed is more important than anything else.
Hey, John, what do they call those posts? And I know you don't use them, and I am wondering why. The post with the words going across the screen. So like it would be an episode of your show, your
audiograms.
In audiogram, yeah. I don't see many of those
because they produce zero results.
Okay,
I stopped doing them, and even though it was free at the time, using I can't remember who it was. Look, for 10 minutes it took to do that is 10 minutes of my life I couldn't get back, and it produced zero results. So I just don't do it anymore.
Got it. I see those, and as gentlemen with a 1 minute attention span, audiogram is something that but will it get me to, if like to your point, if you're trying to get people to go to the podcast, does giving them 1 minute or 30 seconds, I don't know, and so that's the answer. John, did you have a feedback on that?
Sorry, I cracked my mug by accident.
Go on, no worries. Okay, now we're getting. Hey, by the way, Creative Con reunion tonight. Everybody here was at Creative Con, so you got to get to the reunion. But anybody that is in the groups or wants to stop by tonight, let them know. Have them come up to the meetup. In the future, maybe there will be random meetups and groups and on-site little versions of it. So get there tonight, and we're gonna break down what you're working on, and maybe we can get in some networking groups and get some legitimate feedback. I'm working on this. What do you guys think I should do? Hey, take the feedback. Don't take the feedback. Go on. Chris, what do you got for us? How are you doing today? We were talking about AI. Do you use AI at all? We were talking about Canva and CapCut, what the difference is and why use one over the other. I think one's more for video, but blah, blah, blah. What do you got for us, Chris? And how you been with that big smile?
Hey, Tom. Good morning, everybody. I'm great. Things are going well. I'm really looking forward to meeting up with everybody tonight for the Creative Con meetup. Yes, I do use AI, but I use it not to completely create something. I use it as a tool, as a foundation to guide me in whatever it is that I'm creating. And then I will take that information and create, the blog, the post or whatever, and make it sound more like my client or more like myself if I use it for one of my posts. So I think it's good, but it should be used as a tool, not something to just sit there and spit out mindless content.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what we've been talking about, Chris. I'm 100% there with you. I mean, it's exactly what I do as well. I use it as a tool 100%. It gets you, for me, sometimes the hardest part of, drafting something, especially written, the hardest part sometimes is just getting started, right? Like starting with a blank page is sometimes the most difficult thing. And so for me, when I use, generative AI or ChatGPT in particular, it gets me over that hump of instead of starting from a blank screen, I'm starting from something that I can then mold and shape and refine and convert into something that is my own, rather than starting with a blank screen and going, okay, where do I, there are endless possibilities. I need, a little bit of a pathway ahead of me before I decide that that's the direction I want to go in. And sometimes I think generative AI at least just, helps show that the beginning of the path, so I can follow it and actually end up with something useful. So I use it very much in the same way you're describing as well. And so I appreciate you sharing that for sure.
Sure, my pleasure.
Good stuff, both of you. I'm thinking about, I like to use it for outlines a lot of times, basic outlines. And I took one of my ebook I had written, How to Write a Book in 2020, and I'm working on a course. And so I converted it into a 12-week course very quickly using AI, take these 50 points, convert them into 12 weeks, and really whittled it down so that I had at least the outline to work with other people on the course, that when they were requesting information, now I can build it from that point, but to outline, to break it, to give it structure. That's what I'm structured. Love it. Okay. So, hey, reunion. I see that reunion link. Thanks, Julie. Hey, Dante, what's going on? Dante, reunion, Creative Con reunion tonight. Go on, Julie. Julie.
I was clapping to say hi to Dante and Carrie.
Yeah, Dante and Carrie. Carrie's busy today. Okay, Carrie, but you're both welcome at all times. Dante's waving. He's going to come up. Okay, I'm going to give you a show and tell. This is a quick show and tell. So I'm going to just, I've been reading Tom's book about structure of stories, and I'm really into your chapters about structure of stories and stuff. Love it. The 4 points, the hero's journey, breaking all that down. So wonderful stuff, man. So just wanted you to know that, like the story about Darth Vader. I think it was Yoda and Darth Vader. Would anybody care about a little green guy? You wrote that, right? And I'm sorry to give this away, but would anybody care about this little green guy and wands and sabers? I'm paraphrasing here. Had it not been about a father's love, acceptance, the bigger picture, these big decisions we all have to make in life. So he was able to tie those things all together. So legendary and good book. I'm reading. I continue to read. So good job, Tom. Okay. Now we're getting to show and tell. Show and tell today. I structure it like that because when I got into business and started on my own, you have friends, you refer people. I had another friend that we met along the way, and I start to refer him business. And all of a sudden, the guy's pumping me for business all the time, like calling me, asking, you got any more leads? Got any more leads? I'm like, whoa, like a little too much. I thought we were friends. And so now I'm pumping him for, like, he's all the time, like almost setting a deadline on to give him these leads. So, okay, I didn't know that. I thought we were friends. Now I'm like his lead source. Well, I'm in business too. Get your own leads, you got to do the work too. But anyway, at one point, he comes to me and he really wants me to buy something. And now he hasn't asked me for money at this point, but he really wants me to buy something. And so I'm a friend. So if any of you here, like we're friends, and I value each of our relationship. Someday there might be the perfect project for me and Chris, or me and Carrie, or me and John, me and Julie, and we say, we got to do this. So this guy calls, he's like, Dominick, this is great. I wrote this poem. I need you to buy it. It's the best poem. I'm like, oh, wait. Are you asking me to buy a poem picture off of you that he wrote? Yeah, I wrote it when I was X age. Okay. It could be a beautiful poem, but he really is asking me now to give him money, and not just like give him money for this and he needs it in this time. So I'm going to show you. So I said, okay, is this really what you want me to buy? So our friendship comes down to $75. I felt this was, but for my friend, but I also knew that was the value of our friendship. That was $75 every relationship. So this is the back of it. You can see, and I'm going to be, when I turn this around, this is what I bought for $75. And you could see the words, how small they are. And I bought this off of my friend, and that was what our relationship came down to. He wanted to get that $75 off of me, sold me that little thing there, and that was that. And I knew at that point that's what I was worth to him. So now I've since thought maybe I was too hard on him, and so I've come around a little bit on, because I let him know how I felt about. But since then, I've come around on it a little bit and maybe say, maybe I shouldn't be so hard on the guy. I've grown, and that's why I show no names or say anything like that. But a friendship comes down to $75. So that's today's show and tell. What do you think, Tom?
I want to know what it says.
No, because that would potentially incriminate the person. So I will not.
What is it though?
It's a poem that he wrote when he was 7 years old.
Oh, okay. Did you say that and I just missed it?
Yeah, I think I did say that.
Oh, okay.
So not a well-written poem by any means or something.
Gotcha.
Change the world. Just that's what it was. So I'm reminded of that in the Bronx Tale, when at the end of the Bronx Tale, when Caligula needs his the guy, he loaned somebody $20 and the guy keeps running from him, and Sonny in the Bronx Tale says, let him be. That's the cheapest money, for $20 you got that guy out of your life, and so that's what I'm reminded of by that. But I am soft, so I've welcomed him back in my life. So go on, that's show and tell.
Well, so what's he going to try to sell you next?
He already has, but not so hard, and he hasn't asked me for any referrals at this point. So we'll leave it at that.
I mean, I think like, I don't know, my response, right, to situations like that, if somebody kept trying to pump me for stuff is I have a line that I draw, right? So the line that I draw is usually what happens is people try to like pump me for feedback or my thoughts on their particular problem, right? On their specific problem. And so what happens is I have to draw a line in the sand where I say, look, when it comes to general information, if you just want to bounce something off of me and get like a gut reaction or whatever, I'm happy to do that all day long. I do that for free when I comment and post online all the time, right? So like, I'm never going to charge people for that kind of thing, right? But when you're asking me to take my expertise and apply it to solving your problem, well, that's different. Like, that's what I get paid to do. Right now, you're asking me to do work, and I deserve, just like everyone deserves, to be compensated for their work. Right. So like, I draw a line in the sand and I'm like, well, if you want me to keep helping you with this, like, then we need to formalize the arrangement. And so like, my response to somebody like the guy you're talking about, Dom, who's kind of taking advantage of that relationship is, hey, you want referrals? You want me to keep sending you referrals? I'm happy to do that. Let's just put something in writing and I get 10% of everything you get on the referrals that I send you, right? So if I send you a referral and you make $100, you owe me 10, right? And let's just put something in writing. So I get 5% or 10% or whatever the agreed upon amount is for, for all the referrals I send you. Like that's I'm good with that. I'll send you referrals all day long, as many as I can send you. But like, there has to be an upside for me putting in that work, right? Like I'm using my network that I've cultivated over time, right? I'm using my contacts. Like, why would I do all of that work? It's work. It's not just independently wealthy and I have nothing better to do, right? This is work. So if you're going to ask me to do work, I deserve to be compensated for the work that I'm doing for you. And so give me a piece, right? And I'll keep sending you referrals. Like, it's that simple. So yeah, that would be my response. And that's kind of the place where I draw the line in the sand. So yeah, anyway, Carrie, what do you think? You were able to come up. What do you think? Have you been using AI? How have you been using AI? How do you use AI? Do you like AI? Do you not like AI? And how do you stop people from taking advantage of your kindness?
I don't think that will ever happen. I think I'll always just try to help people because I just will. But you have to draw the line. And I suppose I don't think the business model of it's not a good business model if you have to kind of force your friends to purchase something, I think. So that's that. But as far as AI goes, I love it. I think originality and creativity and your own voice has to be there. But as a tool, it's great. But you have to realize that it's just that, like anything. If it's not strong on its own, if it's a gimmick and you have to use a whole bunch of actions to like put lipstick on a pig per se, it's not good. Like, it has to have an original idea and an original source of creativity. So I do like AI. I just have to watch, like what John said, no repetitive words and that it's more you than anything else. And I think if you do that, you'll be okay. So I'm excited to see everyone at Creative Con tonight. So great to be here.
We love it. Go on, Carrie, with your bad self. See you there. Tom, do you want to add something there, or you're just jamming to your bad self? Okay, go on. Okay, speaking of Darth Vader, in Tom's book Legendeering, when I was reading about story structure, Luke, I'm telling you, it's good. Luke and the Yoda. I loved it, man. Okay, Empress. Vader in VC. Okay. Tell us about, you've heard the conversation. I'm not telling you what we're talking about. So go on. That's how I get it this time of day. So go on, Empress. What's up?
Thanks. I heard from when I joined, I heard you guys talking about like utilizing AI and not letting people take advantage of you, I guess. In regards to AI, what I've really been enjoying utilizing is Microsoft's Copilot AI. And my company has it integrated with Microsoft 365. And what that allows for basically is the integration of the tool with Excel, Word, Outlook, Teams, and a whole bunch of other things. And it makes, honestly, it just simplifies a lot of tasks that would have been manual previously. So for example, like if you've got a Teams conversation or even like a Teams meeting, you can ask the AI, hey, can you summarize what the meeting was about? Can you take meeting notes? Can you give us what the key takeaways are for everyone, so that nobody needs to be quote unquote the note taker? For Excel, for example, you could use natural language to tell the cell, for example, what you want it to do if you don't necessarily know the Excel. I'm going to call it language, but I don't know what the right term is, to do a certain function. In Word, for example, you can ask it to refine what you've written. You can ask it to turn something into a table. In PowerPoint, you can have it clean stuff up. So yeah, like in that regard, I've really enjoyed using AI, and I like the way Microsoft's taken the approach of AI's not doing your job for you, it's assisting you with your job.
That's really, really interesting stuff. So in the corporate world, in high level, in teams, in all those, that they're implementing them already, which I believe like Microsoft is a partner with one of those companies. And weren't they trying to buy ChatGPT, or did they buy it?
Microsoft owns Copilot AI, and Copilot AI is built off of ChatGPT 4.
Okay, so right on. All right, so that be that. Okay, on that note, it is not the smartest guys in the room. Creative Con reunion tonight. Even if you were at Creative Con, if you were not, hit the link. We'd love to see you there. We're just trying to build a community where we support other people's creative endeavors. So you got something going on that's creative, and you might want to connect with a podcaster or a publisher or somebody in production, stop on by. We'd love to have you. Okay, that's that, Tom. I'm done talking, and it's on you, man. Give us a takeaway.
I thought it was called a wrap up.
What a jerk! I'm back. The wrap up, final takeaway, final wrap up. Give us the final wrap up. Put a bow on it.
Yeah, I could tell you were getting close to your time limit. Close to getting tired of hearing yourself talk. I was just, when you were saying, you said before Luke and the Yoda, it made me think of like, it felt like you were referring to like Smokey and the Bandit instead of that. But anyway, there you go. There's Yoda. But yeah, it's anyway, I was just chuckling because I was like, Luke and the Yoda. I was like, who says that? And it's Dom. Dom says that. Smokey and the Bandit, Luke and the Yoda, whatever.
That's a good idea for a whole different series. Luke and the Yoda. I'll take them back.
There you go. I love it. Yeah, I think there's something else interesting that's been rattling around in the back of my mind from the podcast that I talked about at the very beginning of the room today, that I listened to just yesterday. Brand Story podcast with hosted by Steve Gilman, with Connor Grenham as the guest. He's the dean of students at the NYU Stern School of Business. And one of the things that Connor said in that conversation in talking about AI was to reiterate again this idea to really try to reshape the way people think about AI. And I think that's important. I think there's been a lot of ways in which the way AI has been talked about has been sort of disingenuous, right? One of my favorite things to go back to is that AI is basically a marketing moniker, because it's not true at all. Nothing about AI is artificial, and nothing about it is intelligent in the way that we think about human intelligence. So it's really, it's really it's generative. It's a generative algorithm. It's a marketing tool, right? AI is a marketing tool, and so look at it that way. Take it with a grain of salt. But the thing that Connor was talking about towards the end of his conversation with Steve that really stuck with me was the idea that really what we should do is focus in on where AI cannot replace human beings, where we cannot be replaced, and the main place where that is really in the nuanced interaction between human beings. That's where AI falls apart, and there have been a number of instances where they've used AI as a chatbot, or they've used AI, and I think many of us have been in the situation where there's an AI-based chatbot on a website that we've been to, that engages with you, and you can tell right away it's not a human being on the other side. There's just something about it. There's something about the nuance of the way in which it communicates that you just can't replicate. That you're able to tell right away that it's not a human being that you're speaking to. And towards that end, one of the things that he said was, because that is really the place where we'll never be replaced, where human beings will never be replaced by the work that AI can do, right? It's not that AI can't be creative. AI can be creative. What AI can't really be good at is being human. And so something that's important to remember is you hear a lot of people, speaking down about liberal arts degrees, right? And degrees in the humanities, degrees in communications, degrees in, those sorts of quote unquote soft fields, right? But those are actually the tools. People with education in those realms are going to become increasingly more relevant and important as we go forward, and more jobs like coding, right, are replaced by generative AI because they can do it faster and easier than a human being can, in a similar way to the way that a calculator can do complex calculations much faster than any human being can do it on paper, right? It's just a better tool. It's a better way to get the job done, in the same way that a nail gun is more efficient than a hammer, right, for putting nails into wood. So it's a more efficient way to do things. So the focus is on be the person holding the tool. Focus on building your skill set as a tool holder rather than someone who does what the tool does. And that'll always enable you to remain relevant in a world where the use of AI is going to become increasingly prevalent. And that's all I got for today. Just wanted to wrap it up with that. Hopefully my little prevalent thing worked out for you. For myself, I'm Tom. For Dom, for Luke and the Yoda, for all of us here at Not the Smartest Guys in the Room, thank you for joining us again this week. If you're not busy, if you're around this evening, come by the Creative Con reunion, and we'd love to see you guys there. We appreciate you. We love all of you. We'll see you. Actually, Dom, next Wednesday, I may not be here because thanks to a connection you gave me, I might be being interviewed on television. So I may not be here. A local New York area station is interested in having me on their show to talk about legendeering. So I may not be here next Wednesday. Stay tuned to see what's going to happen. Right now, it's a little up in the air, but likely I'm not going to be here. So we may skip next week, maybe 2 weeks before we see you again. But no matter whether it's next Wednesday, the 27th, or at the beginning of April, it's always 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. Not the Smartest Guys in the Room. For Dom, I'm Tom. We'll see you guys soon. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Use AI as a tool. Don't be afraid of it. And we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.